The celebration of the 2022 International Human Rights Day provided opportunity to deepen the discourse of human rights amongst candidates seeking election into Nigeria's highest elective office, Office of the President. Nigeria's human rights agency, the National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, in collaboration with the United Nations in Nigeria organized a town hall for presidential candidates to interrogate their solutions to Nigeria's many human rights challenges. While the opportunity was seized by 7 candidates, Imumolen Christopher of Accord Party, Al-Mustapha Hamza of Action Alliance, Sowore of African Action Congress, Sani Yabagi of Action Democratic Party, Umeadi Peter of the All Progressives Grand Alliance and Adebayo Adewole of the Social Democratic Party as well as Rabiu Kwankwaso of New Nigerian People's Party, who was represented, the 3 leading candidates in the election. Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and Peter Obi of Labour Party were, however, visibly absent. Earlier, before the candidates each took turns to reel out their human rights agenda, the chairperson of the governing board of the NHRC, Dr. Salamatu Suleiman urged the candidates to base their campaigns on issues and prioritize human rights.
Elections should be a time of critical national self-reflection on our commitment to the social contract of democracy and the achievement of human rights. So as the elections draw near and political campaigns heat up, we urge all political parties and their candidates to focus on issues and present Nigerians with choices that border on what they will do to achieve basic human rights of citizens. These include, but are not limited to, gender equality, women empowerment, protection of the most vulnerable in our society, like children, youth, older persons, and persons living with disabilities. It is therefore the Commission's hope that political candidates focus their campaigns on strategies to protect and fulfill the human rights of the Nigerian people.
It was then time for the candidates to take the stage. For candidate of the Accord Party, Imumolen, if elected president, his first executive order will be to digitize all administrative processes in a bid to tackle corruption and protects the rights of citizen. Al-Mustapha of Action Alliance, among other agenda, says he will embark on prison reforms.
Independence of judiciary, political interference, and so many had led Nigeria to where we are today. Once I become the president of Nigeria, one of my very first executive order is to ensure that all the MDAs in Nigeria are digitalized. So once we begin to digitalize our MDAs, once we begin to digitalize every processes we run in the 3 tiers of our government, from the federal government to state to local government, believe me, we would have a system that can truly ensure that Nigerians know the outcome of every of their activities.
In our prisons, reforms are required. Rather than rehabilitating Nigerians who find themselves in prison, most of whom are there illegally, particularly awaiting trial inmates, Nigerians and non-Nigerians, men and women, are there staying longer because of the activities in our judicial reform. So we in Action Alliance have already looked at the problems in Nigeria, with me as an example, who was heavily persecuted for 15 years with torture in 5 years, 2 months that I survived. With my experiences, we have now brought together and updated our manifesto, believing that prison will become a productive point from psychological to physical in terms of education and productivity into our economy and social life.
For Sowore of African Action Congress, human rights will become enforceable if he is elected. Sani of Action Democratic Party says he will enforce separation of powers and the basic right to food if elected.
Our political party are not just looking at rights from the physical rights alone. We are more interested in those rights that were signed by Nigeria, known as economic, social, and cultural rights. And what it says is that you must have rights to decent living, to have access to jobs. You must have rights to the dignity of human persons, to clean water, sanitation. But the interesting thing about these rights for Nigeria is that they are not enforceable. So our party has set out to ensure that these rights are going to become enforceable when we come to power in 2020. And we are very interested in social, economic, and cultural rights.
Our government, we will ensure that there is effective separation of powers, meaning that the 3 tiers of the government will function independently and harmoniously. You will also ensure that the courts are independent and they are open and they are fair in their judgment. What I'm mentioning, these are the ingredients of good governance, and that is what we are lacking in our climb.
For Umeadi of the All Progressives Grand Alliance says will embark on power reform to help address unemployment. Adewole of Social Democratic Party says he will build a culture of respect for human rights. While Kwankwaso of New Nigerian People's Party says he will implement affirmative action for women if elected.
The pivotal issue of electricity will be taken care of for the benefit of the larger society and implementation of all facets of the economy.
Human rights and human enforcement is not a program. It should become the culture. And I've lived in many countries, and in countries in which human rights are respected, it is not a government thing. It is that generally, their society has developed to a level of civilization where you respect the right of peoples generally. So I think what leadership should do, as Social Democratic Party, what we've learned to do, is to try to train ourselves and bring a new crop of leadership that recognizes that human rights are essential.
When we get into power by special grace of God, we are going to accommodate substantial part of women in various positions of governance, but it has to be based on merit. There will be free antenatal care for all the women, and we are going to protect also girl child from abuses, and all women will have free medical care.
The Commission and partners are expected to review these submissions, and it is hoped that whoever emerges President of Nigeria in 2023 would draw ideas from the report. DN News, Abuja, North Central Nigeria.